What is up, everybody? Welcome back here to the Devy YouTube channel. We're back with another Devy risers and fallers of the college football week 11. We're going to be looking at some big names this week because now we're starting to see November is the month where the big names pop off. And we start looking at draft capital. We start understanding where these guys are going to be looking for the NFL draft, or if they're sophomores, we're going to be looking at two sophomores today that will be coming back next year for sure, and where is their value as well. So we're going to go through risers, guys that have risen in value, and then one faller that I think we got to start getting concerned about a little bit. We talked about it on our reaction show, which we do live here on the channel right after the college football games on Saturday. But I think it's time to start putting him on notice that, his value is definitely dipping. So hit that like and subscribe button. We'll catch you on the other side. All right, so let's get into our risers and fallers. And first up is going to be Jalen Milroe. I owe Jalen Milroe an apology. I was not familiar with your game early on. I think I struggled with his passing ability, right? I kind of talked about it. I said, man, he's really got to fix that. But you know what? He has fixed that. So since that Texas game where he was, two interceptions, didn't look that amazing, he's turned it on. And you see the numbers there. So PFF, offensive grade is 90.5. Big time throw percentage is 8.7. Like, he has gotten much better as a passer. He's been much more efficient. In his last 3 games, he's averaged about a 67% completion percentage. He's looked great. Like, when they've gotten him kind of in space in the rushing attack as well. Like, they've let him make really good decisions. You love that. So the 3.3% turnover worthy play, he still has those. Like, he had a pick against Kentucky, he had a pick against Tennessee, A&M. Not amazing, right? 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but he's gotten better and developed. And for a kid that wasn't on the field, he's still developing. This is his first real true year as a starter. That's something to really kind of highlight that, hey, this kid's figuring it out. Offensive grade under pressure is always going to be the concern a little bit, 60.0. His completion percentage is not great under pressure, but what makes him special? His rushing ability, 105 carries, 333 yards, and 12 touchdowns. He was phenomenal against Kentucky, where he had 3 rushing touchdowns. LSU, 4 rushing touchdowns. He has been really good this season. I think he could be a Heisman finalist. I think if he beats Georgia, he has a shot to win the damn thing. That's how impressive he has been. And so I just got to give him a shout out here. He's a guy that's, if he comes back, when he comes back, so he's going to probably come back next year, I think he's got to be in the top 5 of your quarterback class next year. I think it's wide open. I think Jalen Milroe, with another year of development, he could be right there. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that he could be in that category as a top 5 guy in this class next year? Next guy, Travion Henderson. And the reason why I'm going to bring him up is we've talked about him plenty of times. I think with the running back class as a whole in the 24 class, it's like, hey, who's going to be that guy? I think Travion's making a case for that now, right? So start off kind of slow against Indiana, Youngstown State, Western Kentucky, a little banged up too, been a little injured, kind of wasn't in there, right? But since that Notre Dame game, he's looked really good. And I know that he missed some time in between Notre Dame and Wisconsin, but Wisconsin, 162 yards, a touchdown, 45 yards receiving. Rutgers, 128 yards, a touchdown, 80 yards receiving. Michigan State, 63 yards, a touchdown. They didn't really need him. They got him out of there early. But I think Travion, he's their key. If Travion Henderson, if Ohio State wants to be in the Big Ten, they want to beat Michigan, they want to go make noise in the playoff, I think it's actually Henderson that's the key for them. And if he continues to have this big kind of games down the stretch, they're going to love this kid. And the NFL is what I mean there. They're going to see this kid as being kind of that 3-down back. Henderson has definitely popped off in terms of like value. I think he's kind of the only one I'm comfortable, and I do a big board every week for football guys, that I have him in my first round right now, right? And now draft capital is going to change it, all that. But Travion Henderson's making a name. I think he can be a 3-down guy. You see his explosive runs at 17, missed tackles for us at 24. I do think that in between the tackles, he's got to work on that a little bit, but he's shown that he can have the usage, right? Rutgers, Wisconsin. Now he's got to stay healthy. So as long as he stays healthy down the stretch, I think we're talking about Henderson probably being running back 1 in this class, but I big that with a big probably because no one really knows the running back position that well. We're really just projecting here, but he is a 3-down kid, and if he continues down this path, he's looking like he's going to be at least a day 2 pick. All right, we're going to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. because I haven't gotten to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. on one of these because I tend to look for the lower one, like the lower value players that really took a bump up. But this kid's just been straight balling, so I'm going to talk about him. 9.2 receiving grade, 6 drops on the year. That's it. Wide in slot percentage, you'll see it there from 79 to 19, kind of in that range. ADOT is 12.9. He has been the best player in college football, like bar none. Best player in college football is Marvin Harrison Jr. On the season, 59 catches, 1,063 yards, and 12 touchdowns. He looks really good the last few games against Michigan State. He had some catches and a rushing touchdown that were phenomenal. This kid is just a playmaker. He's a Lamborghini ready to get released, as the NFL called him last year, watching CJ Stroud's pro day. And I am absolutely just enamored with this kid. He is that good. As a Michigan fan, I just want him to, hey, can you just go away maybe for a couple weeks? Hey, just decide to go to NFL, Marvin. Don't be playing this game. No, I'm just kidding. I think, when you're looking at him, I think he's kind of sure up being a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Where he goes is going to be an interesting mark. Maybe he gets paired with Caleb Williams somewhere in Chicago. Where does he go? I think is going to be the key aspect of that. Are we concerned about him going to the New York Giants with Daniel Jones? Would we be concerned going anywhere else, right? Where are we? Would we be really concerned with Marvin Harrison Jr. going? But as far as in college football, I think that he should be at the Heisman ceremony. I think he could win it. Like if he has 2 games, I know they play Minnesota, but if they go to Michigan and they win, and Marvin's a big part of that, then they win the Big Ten. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has a shot. Right. And I know historically, I think only 4 wide receivers have won the award. I think Marvin Harrison could be that 5th. And I think that's how good he's been this year. All right. My last guy I want to talk about is a riser, someone that I think is someone that we got to talk about as could, really solidify himself as being a top 5 back in the 25 class. That's Damian Martinez. Now, he's been a fan favorite of mine for a long time. If you follow me and watch me, I talked about Damian 2 years ago as a prospect coming out. This year, 155 carries, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. He had 4 touchdowns against Stanford this week, 146 yards on 15 carries only. Colorado, again, 115 yards. He's been super uber efficient. When you're looking at just the numbers wise, he's just been an efficient back. Yards after contact, 596. 41 missed tackles forced, 34 explosive runs, 101.9 elusive rating. Like Damian Martinez is everything that you want in a back. And I like his size as relative to his, his athleticism. I think he's getting up there. And you see these big games that he's putting together. The running back position is hard. And just like I talk about Travion, it's hard to say, oh yeah, he's a top 5 guy for sure. But I think in this class coming up in the 25 class, I think that Damian Martinez needs to start being talked about. You got to put some respect on his name for what he's been able to produce. This is going to be one of those offenses that they are going to give him the ball. He's going to get the usage. We're going to see that. It would not shock me to see him go over 1,300 yards, 1,400 yards on the season, as long as he stays healthy. And then, he's had some pass catching a little bit this year. 9 catches, not amazing. But I do think that they really like this kid. And I think he's one of those bruisers. Like he's one of those dudes in the NFL, that can go, right? I think Leonard Fournette, LeGarrette Blount, those type of guys. I think Damian Martinez fits that mold. Now, let's talk about the faller. So let's just talk about the guy. I got one guy that I'm very, very concerned about, and that's Berrien Brown. Now, Devin Leary transferred to Kentucky. Everybody kind of thought that was going to be a big win for them. It was not. Devin Leary has not been good for this passing offense. Berrien came in, and many people thought he could take that next leap because he had 628 yards last year and 4 touchdowns. And many people thought, oh, yeah, he's that next guy. They really slotted him in there with Antonio Williams. Some people had him as high as wide receiver 2 in his class. He hasn't panned out that way. 57.9 receiving grade, 5 drops, which has not been good. Wide percentages at 65.0, 35.0 is slot percentage there. His ADOT is not 115. It should be 11.5. That's on my fault there. But his ADOT is okay. But the big thing with Berrien Brown that I think that is the concern is hey, Dane Keys looked okay in this offense. Like these other wide receivers have not been as bad as Berrien Brown has been. Dane is 477 yards, Tavion Robinson 472. So when you're looking at the other guys within that offense, they've done okay. I think they've shifted a little bit to Ray Davis, the running back there, and kind of used him in different ways. So that definitely hurt that. But why is Berrien Brown, if he's so talented, the 3rd wide receiver? I think that he's on transfer watch. I do think Berrien Brown could maybe be that guy that we talk about. Hey, he's transferring somewhere else. But definitely taking a hit in his stock for someone who's getting drafted in the 3rd to 4th round. If you're in Devy drafts or just as a Kentucky fan or a college football fan, Berrien Brown has not panned out the way that many have thought he would pan out. So I wanted to kind of just dive into some risers and fallers of the Devy class and just college football. A lot of fun coming up in these next couple of weeks. Huge games coming up in these next couple of weeks. So hopefully you love college football. Hope you were watching. All right. Appreciate you guys. I'll check you guys in the next one.